Hey everybody, it's Ryan from Pi Records, and I'm here with Paul from the Pyronauts. How are you?
I'm great. How are you, Ryan?
Really good, really good. I've been listening to your music, and I was looking at some of the titles. One of them translates to Surfboard of the Dead, which I thought was really cool, especially like the Necronomicon part.
Right.
Tell me a little bit how you get inspiration for the titles.
Well, that was our bass player Brett Cole's song, and he's a big Bruce Campbell fan.
Yeah.
And so he wrote that song. We used to do this thing where when we were playing live, we would switch instruments,
Oh, nice.
and so I would throw him my guitar, and he would give me the bass, and that was one of his little, like, a little mini set that of his music. It was, and he was into, we did the Munsters and a couple other of his songs like Cal Tiki, and I think the other one was called Last Wave on the Left.
Nice. Where do you think that how do you think the surf music genre that went from talking about girls and hot rods got its more spooky nature in some areas?
Oh, that's a great question. I think that instrumental music you can really, like, shape feelings with it, and paint pictures, maybe, like, more like, use different colors and with different tones or scales, and I think that that's a natural, because, like, if you go back to, like, classical music, like Chopin's Funeral March, it's very sad and dark. But then you have the Funeral March of a Marionette by Charles Gounod.
Yeah.
And it's really, it could be, but it's actually funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
So and it's like a happy, sad song. And I really love that about kind of that side of the instrumental stuff, is that even though it's a minor key or it's this dramatic sounding intervals or whatever, it's still fun.
Yeah, totally.
And it's still positive. I do like that.
I love I love your background. So tell me about the guitar you're playing in the background.
I'm a jazz master guy, and that's I became a meme on Surf Guitar 101 because I was playing wireless, and it appeared that I had a tail, and so this picture was taken in Huntington Beach, and I can't remember what year, maybe like 2006 or 8 or 10 or somewhere in there. And so on Surf Guitar 101, they started photoshopping me in all these different places. Like, here I am on Mars. but it was a lot of fun from that one picture.
That's awesome.
But we had a lot of fun with Pyronauts, and I was gonna say, you mentioned girls, and I was gonna tell you the story about how I got started playing guitar.
Oh yeah,
that
totally.
Was my friend Nick and we were in 7th grade, starting to get interested in girls. Like, how do we get girls interested in us? And our answer was, we need a band.
Of course.
So we decided, it's totally classic. We decided that I would ask for a guitar for Christmas, and he would ask for a bass. And the rest is kind of history. And we didn't really attract girls. We were playing grunge and just really loud, really noisy, and we're terrible singers. right? So fast forward a couple of years, my guitar teacher, Rob, he gives Pipeline. And it was like, oh my goodness. You mean, we didn't know what instrumental music was. I mean, we've heard it, but we didn't like understand like, oh, this is a genre. Wait, we don't have to sing. We could just focus on playing. So, and what was cool about that was that made us different than the other bands in our school, and it gave us something to fight about, like, yeah, we're instrumental, we're different, So that was sort of that part. And, that was always really fun. And then, what really turned me on to surf music was seeing Dick Dale for the first time. And that was in 1998 at the Sausalito Wine and Art Festival. I was 16, and my bass player, Gabe, his mom took us, and we were right in the front. We had no idea what was about to happen. But it was really one of those points in your life where the direction really changes, and you're like, oh, now I know what I want to do. I want to sound like that. I want to be that loud,
That happened to be when I heard I'm sure No Effects. When I heard, like, I was playing in like thrash bands and stuff like that, so I was definitely connected to surf because of the rhythm, and the thrash metal is a lot about rhythm. But then when I heard punk and drum, like, I was like, okay, now I need to start a band. And it was like obsessive, like flyers everywhere, because in the 90s you had to put flyers up, and everybody wanted to be a band in college, so it was super cool. And I totally know what you're thinking when you finally see it on stage, and you have that inspiration. It's like, okay, now you obsess over it.
Yep. Yeah, and it really gave me a focus. And like we were making flyers like that. I remember and pasting at Kinko's and using that tape and reducing on the printers, and then like choosing the most outlandish color of paper and taking those flyers out. That was really fun. But what I was thinking about was Dick Dale. We saw that show, and then we saw him a few more times. We saw him open for the Beach Boys on the 4th of July.
Oh, wow.
And then come back and join in with the Beach Boys.
Oh, really?
Then Fireworks. That was a really cool show. Little did we know that in a couple of years, we would get the chance to open for him in Sacramento.
Really?
And so that show was an amazing show. A little club, capacity 300, that had 500 people in it. It was way too packed. But what I remember is the ceiling was really low, so the lights were like right in your face, and it was super hot. It was February, but it was like a sauna on the stage, and the people right there, it was just like, it was the coolest experience ever. And you never, it's like your first time doing anything. That first time opening for Dick Dale and playing for that kind of energetic crowd was incomparable.
How was he? How was it like to meet him? And then, like, did he comment on your show or your set?
He wasn't there. But and we had met him a couple times before, but he really wasn't. He wasn't really into like, oh, that's cool, you're inspired by me, or anything like that. He was kind of cold in that regard. But over the years, we were very fortunate to open for him a number of more times, and throughout Sacramento and in the Bay Area as well, Petaluma, San Francisco. And eventually I started putting on shows. And so I put on 4 or 5 shows with Dick Dale with Pyronauts opening. And then I got to know him a little bit better because I was handing him, you know, big stacks of cash. And so that was really interesting. Got to know him that way. But the best part of that relationship was getting to know his band, Dusty Watson on drums and Sam on the bass, and also Captain Ron on the bass. But really, Sam and Dusty became like really, really great friends. So that was sort of like we were trying to be sneaky and like steal Dick Dale's fans, right? By putting on these shows or sneaking on the bill. And but what we really got, besides some fans, was we got this amazing friendship with Dusty and Sam, and those guys. Then we got turned on Slacktone and plugged into that whole scene, and man, what a cool thing.
Totally. It's kind of like when I do these interviews, you never know what it's going to be like. You hope people watch it, but the thing you get out of it most is sometimes you really connect with the person you're talking to, and you develop a friendship going forward. And it's always cool to correspond and talk about what's going on in people's lives and things like that. And so I totally get what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's a community, and it's worldwide, right?
Yeah.
It's like we all get off on surf music, and most people don't, you know? So we all have this thing in common, and even if they're from different countries or speak different languages, we understand that through this music that we have this connection, and it's really special. And what other genre could a kid who, you know, could barely tune his guitar, and then in 3 or 4 years, you're opening and rubbing elbows with the inventor of the genre?
Yeah.
You know, it just blows my mind. And we met so many cool people, so many of the first wave guys like Paul Johnson, and just, you know, number of people, blanking on their names, but Paul Johnson was a big one. And becoming friends with these guys, so cool. And they're like, we didn't think anybody liked it.
Yeah.
Anymore. You know?
Well, there's plenty of room to expand on the genre, as I've seen many bands do. So I think that's what's keeping it alive, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. Yeah. And so for Pyronauts, we talked about Brett, our bass player, and then the other sort of original-ish members where we started really recording and making splash was Bob Bitchin. He goes all the way back to the high school days, and I basically taught him how to play guitar. He was like my first student, and but he definitely was heavily influenced by metal. And then our drummer Pan Man, who's on the Surf and Destroy album, he was coming from a metal background too, and that was definitely where we got and shaped. And Pan Man definitely shaped our sound. He pushed us.
Yeah,
he was way more talented than we were at the time, and a little bit older, so he brought us up to his level, and that was definitely worth mentioning.
I think a connection that I've seen as I've talked to bands, and a lot of people, fans of surf music, not so much the bands, but fans of surf music, don't realize the connection of the style of playing between metal and surf. It's the rhythm. It's the rhythm that really connects the two. How similar, in your experience, do you see that connection?
Oh yeah, totally. It's just a clean guitar versus an overdriven
Yeah,
guitar, and the other part of it is melody, right? And I think I'm the lead guitarist in Pyronauts, and I grew up singing along to the radio, and I did a couple of choirs in high school and in college, and kind of learned how the classical way to sing, I guess. And so I like thinking about playing the melody or being a melody guitarist, of trying to make it vocal,
yeah,
so
yeah.
taking breaths or uh, being expressive. And so that's the way I play guitar. It's pretty, and I think that translates well. I'm not like a lead guitarist, like a metal guitarist. I think that's where a big difference is. I'm not Eddie Van Halen,
None of us
not
are.
that good. Yeah.
Well, it's cool you mention that, because some songs, you could tell it's more, I don't want to say guitar player. It's not as if it sounds like the vocals. It sounds like lead guitar through the whole song, and just kind of riffing. But there's also noticeable, like you said, bands that try to create a melody that sounds like a vocal, and that's two camps that are very different, but equally enjoyable, I think.
Yeah, I think Pyronauts was in both worlds, of that, melodic and rhythmic. And then you also have the traditional and the progressive movements, right? And I think Pyronauts is in both of those camps too. Our equipment was really traditional, but we weren't playing traditionally, like we were aggressive, but we didn't really use a lot of effects either, besides reverb and maybe a little bit of delay. But in my new band, the Starhoppers, I've been exploring a lot more effects.
So tell me a little bit about the Starhoppers. I know we spoke a little bit over email. Actually,
Yeah.
I actually sent you two emails trying to get both bands, and I didn't realize you were in both bands. But tell me a little bit how the Starhoppers got started.
Well, so in 2012, I moved about 5 hours away from Sacramento, and so Pyronauts, we don't get together as much anymore. And the last time we played actually was Surf Guitar 101 convention in August of 2019. And so when the pandemic lockdown happened, up here on the North Coast in Ferndale is where I live, which is kind of by the Redwoods.
Oh, nice.
And kind of like Redwoods inland and the ocean. We're just kind of on the edge of the continent here. And I had played in a band up here with the drummer, Josh Kieselhurst, and the band had kind of disintegrated. And then I had this friend, Ross Rowley, this bass player, who's in a vocal band. And he's just a fun guy to be around. And so we just sort of started getting together, distanced, and playing. And we found out that, man, it was really inspiring with nothing else going on. Everybody was kind of stuck at home, and this was our little outlet. This 3 hours a week that we got together. We started writing songs, and some Pyronaut songs ended up on our record. Nominal AF is the record, and but we recorded 3 Pyronaut songs to Astroman, Shafaka, which we renamed Lemurs in Space, and our song Pi. Pyronauts song 5. And but all of a sudden, after 10 years of not writing any songs, all of a sudden these songs started coming out again. And so it's pretty much the only thing that got through the pandemic, because I'm used to getting out there, and I'm pretty social, and I like putting on concerts and meeting people and shaking hands and getting excited and inspired by music. And so all of that energy went into this band, the Starhoppers.
That's awesome. That's one thing I noticed about some of the bands I interview is that a lot of them started up during the pandemic as kind of like excuse me, like over the internet and collaboration and collaborating. And some of them are so great, and like they have all this pent up energy to because they're at home and they have all these ideas. So they like all these bands came out of the woodwork and they're so great. And it sounds like that's where you were headed. You had up all this pent up energy and you just it was time for you to do it again, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think without the situation, how much it sucks for the entire world, but it was an opportunity to become creative again.
Yeah, totally. And so tell me about some of the members of the band, like you were just speaking about the gentleman that you got together with. Are you playing as a full band now?
Yeah, we've been rehearsing throughout the pandemic as a trio. Josh he's a teacher. He teaches special ed in Eureka. And then Ross, he is he makes commercials for the local TV station.
Oh, nice.
So he's like a video guy. Josh's musical background, he's coming from reggae and more of the world music scene in that vein of pan drums. The college up here, Humboldt State University, has a good pan drum music department.
Wow.
And so I was in a band with him, with another guy who played. We were doing some surf music and we never recorded, which I'm really sad about, but it was mostly covers. And our pan player, John, played the melodies on pan drums.
Oh, nice.
I played rhythm guitar. And and then we had bass player and Josh was drummer. And that was really, really fun. Ross came, he grew up in like kind of the new wave era.
Yep.
But then he was also in a popular local band that would play like, Elks Club dances and stuff. So kind of poppy and fun. But he was also in country bands, and so he's kind of like a well-seasoned guy, but he'd never done surf. Always loved surf, but never did it. So we all have that. We all get it. We're not trying to convince each other that this is the right thing to do or anything like that. And it's we don't have any delusions of grandeur. We know we're not going to become famous from it or anything like that. And we're just like having fun, being creative together. And we played one gig last year for a car show in the summertime.
Nice.
On the bass player's back porch. As people are walking by about he would live like a block off of Main Street, and there's cool cars out there and tons of people walking by, and every once in a while we get a few people come in and but this one kid, and this story happens over and over from playing. One kid there, and he's watching me play, and then he goes, man, do you know Rumble? Or, man, could you play Miserlou? And it was like, blows my mind that a kid would know, a teenager would know about that music. And that makes me hopeful for the future of instrumental music.
Yeah.
Because
oh, go ahead.
I was going to just tell you that my other job from about 2005 until about 2016 was guitar teacher. And so I had hundreds of students over the years, and every single one of them, I made them learn pipeline. I made them be aware of what surf music was or is. And that was my ulterior motive there. Besides getting the paycheck, was spreading the surf gospel.
Well, it's funny that you say it that way, introducing the students to surf music, because I know for me as a guitar player, once you turn off that gain and that overdrive, it's kind of like you're playing naked. Like it's a lot tougher than people think to play surf music.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest challenges between Starhoppers and Pyronauts. Is Pyronauts with Bob Bitchin rhythm guitar, his tone is so big and so heavy and so filling that I had all this space to kind of dick around, to make mistakes that sometimes end up being happy mistakes, right? But I could drop a pick, or I could break a string, switch guitars, and probably most of the audience wouldn't even notice, right? Because Bob is just so strong in there. With the Starhoppers playing live as a 3-piece, there's just, you got to be on, and any mistake is just glaring,
Yeah.
So I really, really appreciate bands like Slacktone that can pull that stuff off, and Dave Ronsky is my hero, and if I could play a quarter as good as Dave, I'd be really happy.
Well, from what I heard of the music I was listening to of yours, the albums, you're doing a fantastic job. It's refreshing hearing a new band, and you put a kind of a twist on it. And I'd like to know your approach when you're writing leads.
Yeah. Well, I want it to be melodic and singable, right? I find myself, when I listen to Pollo Del Mar or Slacktone or Insect Surfers, I'm singing along, to the lead. And so I'm always got that in mind. I want it to be singable. And then for the Starhoppers, it's really inspired by space, and the recent sort of SpaceX launches and the landing of the boosters and the manned or the humans Dragon capsule, and all of that stuff. So inspiring. And my son is 6 now, but about in early 2020, we started watching the movie Apollo 11, which is basically the old footage that NASA took, and it's condensed into this 90-minute movie of all this original stuff, and with the Walter Cronkite and Mission Control voiceovers that actually happened. And it's so crazy that what those guys did, what basically the whole world did to do that. And so of acknowledging that happened over 50 years ago. And now all of a sudden we're in this new age where these new space accomplishments are happening, like the otherworldly, the twin Falcon Heavy boosters landing. I mean, that image is just burned into my mind, and so that was a inspiration for that song.
It's like you're
Falcon
watching
Heavy.
a movie when you're watching that land. It's like it's hard to wrap your head around.
This can't be real.
This can't be real. Like, it's just like the movies predicted.
Yeah. And I mean, I grew up in the space shuttle era.
Yeah.
And watched the disasters.
Yeah.
Watched the last launch, and when that ended, that was a real bummer.
Yeah, I was sad.
It was really, really sad. But now I feel like there's hope for new exciting science fiction things becoming real.
Yeah, totally. And I'm glad, very much so, that Elon Musk didn't just be selfish and keep it to himself. He's working with NASA. He's working with the European Space Agency. They're all working together, which I think will make everything like just move very quickly. Now that they have the rocket that can land, I think we're going to see some pretty exciting things, and it's cool to hear that you're inspired by that, because I follow that.
Oh yeah, me too. I think it's just something it's a way of like escapism,
Yeah.
And but it's just so freaking cool. So some of the other Starhopper songs, like the one that's called Sled Driver, that's I saw a talk by a SR-71 pilot.
Yep.
Back in the day. And the pilots were called sled drivers. So the idea of that one was, kind of a visualization of what it would be like to fly in an SR-71 at Mach 5 or whatever, and get to the edge of space. Yeah. And I've been reading about Neil Armstrong and his test pilot days and flying to X-15, and I just read, when he was selected for an astronaut, he had flown the fastest and he had gone the highest of anybody other than the two astronauts that had 2 or 3 astronauts that had gone to orbit. And man, there's just inspiration everywhere in the space stuff.
I'm a TV guy myself, and I was lucky enough to hone my interview skills at a young age, like 22, 23. They'd send us out as photographers, as like a one-man band, and you'd have to, interview. You'd have to learn the questions to ask. And one of the coolest things that I can remember, because when I was a kid, I wanted to be an astronaut, is meeting Buzz Aldrin. He was speaking.
Oh my gosh!
He was speaking at an elementary school, and I got to interview him, and I was just like, it was kind of foggy, because I couldn't believe that I was getting to meet this guy. He was just like bigger than the world.
Yeah. What was he like?
He was totally cool. Like, you would, like, to him, it's just another thing he did in his life. You know what I mean? It's like,
right. Amazing.
But for all of us, it's like you did this, like you did it. Like what was it like, And he's kind of like, well, it was kind of like this, kind of like that.
That's so cool.
It's just kind of like, wow.
That's so cool. I think it was him on the radio, when they dock back up with the command module after the moon landing, and then they start the burn on the backside of the moon to come back to Earth. And they're in radio silence during that burn.
Yeah.
But then they come back into contact with Houston, and I think it was Buzz that they asked him how the burn was, and he goes, it was just as nominal as all get out. And and that was the inspiration for the title of the Starhoppers album, Nominal AF. So that it's kind of like a modern way of saying, yeah, it was nominal as all get out.
Yeah.
You know?
It's such a it's such an important part of history, and to connect that in music is especially because there's a lot of bands doing surf with space themed titles, but you take it one more step, like you're really into this to this stuff, like you're inspired by the actual events.
Yeah, and I think like trying to visualize what that would be like, I mean, those experiences that so few humans get to have, but now more are getting to have. I mean, it's pretty cool. What a time. William
Shatner, can you believe that?
Yeah, amazing.
That's like,
and he was I can't remember what he said, but he just like, it just like blew his mind.
Yeah,
he was like, he couldn't even like, how do you even put it to words,
Yeah. Cool. It was like the meme of a lifetime to see him go up there. It was just wow,
Yep.
Like who would have thought when he was doing Star Trek in the 60s that one day that guy would just take a ride,
Yeah. So cool.
So I want to thank you, Paul, so much for your time. And I love to talk about your band and the music, but it was also very cool to connect like we just did, talking about space and other things, because there's always, and you being a guitar teacher, there's always other things going on in people's lives, interests and things that interest me, to get to know more about the person behind the music. So I want to thank you so much for sharing everything with me.
Oh, thank you, Ryan. I really hope that we get to see each other in person one day at some big surf festival. And,
well,
yeah, I can't wait to get back to that.
You said you were in Sausalito?
I'm in Ferndale, which is about 5 hours north of San Francisco.
Okay, well, that's pretty high.
Yeah, we're almost in Oregon.
I want to go to the convention down in LA. And I know, I know Jeff has been talking about the upcoming season and hoping to get it pulled together, because you never know what's going to happen these days.
I know.
And and at the same time, I'm talking to my family about taking a trip to LA, because my daughter's going to college and she wants to see LA before she goes to college. And I said, oh, yeah, what a great opportunity that would be,
Yeah, that'd be great. Maybe we'll see you down there.
That would be awesome. That would be awesome to meet all the people I've talked to and just see them in their element,
Yep. Well, yeah, I definitely appreciate what you're doing for the genre and for the community, and giving us an outlet. It's fun to talk about surf music and what we're trying to do and what we've done.
It's difficult because, like you said, not many people know about it. So if you go directly to the source, you get something out of it. You get to talk about surf music. I get to talk about music, because my family isn't as music oriented as I would, as I am. So when I get to talk to bands, I get to kind of speak their language and gives me a real good feeling.
Awesome. Me too.
All right, man. Well, thank you so much. And I hope to hear some more from your new band. And I hope you get out to the surf convention in LA. And it sounds like your band is a lot of fun and inspired. And I wish you the best of luck with it. Get some more shows which shouldn't be too hard for you because you put the shows on. But
there you go.
but I just wanted to say thank you, and I really enjoyed our talk.
Thanks, Ryan. I enjoyed it too. Have a lovely day.
You too, man. Take care.
Bye.